Sweet! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of the Stellar Circuits podcast. I am here with my co-host and best bud in the world, Mr. Jesse Olsen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, all you circuit heads. We're very excited to finally be doing this. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time now. It's been a great week in music, folks. We just got done watching the live stream of The Contortionist Clairvoyant, and I gotta say, that was really cool. What'd you think about it, man?
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
The production was amazing. Yeah, it was a great time.
Those guys are great. We've had sort of a kinship with those guys ever since we started this band. They were one of the bands that we all sort of connected on when we started making music together, and it's something that's kind of tough because, you know, everybody has their own influences and whatnot. Everybody has their own favorite bands, and when you get together as a band, it's a special thing to find those bands that everybody really connects on that level. I just really love how those guys do the visual thing, you know what I mean? How they do with the lights and the atmosphere, and everything that they put together is just so cool, and it really puts you in the zone. It was real similar to what they do at a concert, you know, but maybe even more intimate.
Yeah, like I was saying, I mean, every single time that we go and see them live, it's a better show.
Yeah.
They sound better. Their lights are better. It's just more of an experience every time.
Yeah. I love how they seem to do all that stuff in-house, too. You know how Eric, he does all the lights himself. I think he sets all that stuff up and programs it. I wonder if he...
it used to be like that. I don't know if it's still the same way.
Yeah. I wonder if he went to school for something like that or studied anything like that.
I'm not sure. I don't even know his last name. I'll look it up.
Eric Gunther, I think, is his name. I wonder if that's German.
Eric the...
Gutierrez, actually, I think is his name. Eric Gutierrez.
I don't know.
It might not be.
I don't think that's it.
Anyway. Yeah, but like I said, it's been a great week for music, folks, especially us and the...
I think Gunther.
Gutierrez?
Yeah, Guentierez.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. We've been looking forward to that for a minute, and obviously this week we had the Karnivool stream as well, which I gotta say had me pretty giddy. Yeah. Those guys have been on our radar for, what do you think, 6 years now? 7 years maybe?
Seems like when we started the band, it was right around that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another one of those bands that, like we say, we all kind of connect on as a band. I think we probably all love them equally. I'm not sure if Jared knew who they were until he joined the band. Did we turn them on?
Tyler, and I don't think Tyler knew either.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shortly before we started this band that I found out about them. And, you know, when me and Drew were in our last band, Parasonic, that was just like a big turning point. And I remember that day so vividly when, you know, the first time I was exposed to Live at the Forum. God, that's one of the greatest concerts I think ever filmed anywhere.
I mean, that live stream was pretty incredible too.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, it had me. It almost had me kind of shook up. You know what I mean? They just kind of get me in that headspace, and obviously we kind of at least attempt to make music from the same place. You know what I mean? Which is just really from the heart. You know what I mean? But also from that that atmospheric sense, and I think something that we talk a lot about is the ambiguity. You know, it's not minor, their music's not major, it's that modal thing, and obviously none of us are too insanely steeped in music theory, but there's something about the way that they drift in between those that reminds me of just something bigger than, you know, like a crass happy or sad or anything like that. It's almost more than words can describe, you know, emotionally with those guys. I'll be honest, it had me breaking down a little bit when we were listening to it.
It was incredible.
I think it's been 2 years since we really heard anything from them. Mm-hmm. You know, I can remember then when we found out about those new songs that they put out, and even though they were kind of shitty and filmed from the crowd.
I mean,
it's shitty. I mean, audio recording wise, but
Yeah.
as far as
Yes.
music, not even close. It was amazing. I listened to it, I don't know, at least a dozen times, each one of those songs.
Yeah.
And I think you were right when we were watching it that you pointed out that All That It Takes, I think
Yeah,
that
they
was
had,
the
like-
one with the girls.
And I think I heard it towards the end of the song. I think it was like barely mixed.
I
in
did
there,
hear it
but
in
I
there.
didn't hear it as prevalent as I did when it was that when
Yeah.
we saw the live show.
Yeah, and I can't say that I was disappointed that it wasn't there. That wouldn't be the right word at all. But I really connected with that,
Yeah, it was
voice
cool.
when we heard it in the live recording. And
They must have moved away from it, or a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe.
and
We'll
like I
see.
said, I can't say I'm disappointed or that it was any worse. It was just different, and just thinking about it makes me want to go back and watch it again, even though those recordings weren't that great. It's probably been 16 months or
I
so
wonder
since.
if they took that down. I'll check if they.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm not sure if these people are aware even that they did have that new music out, and not that I'm encouraging piracy or going and listening to anything that's unfinished, but with a band like Karnivool, it's just one of those things that it doesn't even matter, that it's like
No, they didn't.
they didn't take it down.
They
All
got-
that
they
all
have,
that it takes.
They have all it takes. They have the reanimation song.
I
If
don't
you just, If you
know
just,
what that one is. Reanimation.
we listened to it. We listened to it. I would play it on here.
Play it
but-
just for a second. I mean, obviously we don't want to get pulled on our first episode for that, but I'm just curious. That's the really slow one, isn't it?
Yep.
Feeling alone in a crowded place. Wow.
Yep. That's it.
Man, those songs are so good.
And then there was another one. I think.
There was one
yeah,
more.
Yeah. However you say that, Azora, something. How do you say that? AOZO.
Zora is what I would guess. Yeah,
Zora,
I'm
yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, those are the three ones that we heard.
But yeah, I'd say for anybody that's a huge fan of Karnivool like we are, and I know that a lot of you guys that listen to our music are aware of Karnivool, I would highly recommend going and checking that out, even though we have our fingers crossed that they're going to be coming out with this new material sometime soon. It was definitely something that they seemed to be hinting at, especially at the end of the live stream when they said they're looking forward to coming to one of our cities, and you know, I got a little chubby listening to that myself. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, great week in music. Listening to these live streams is really inspiring. I know that's something that that we've got our eye on. You know, we want to start doing more things like that. We want to start performing more and putting stuff out online. And obviously, this week you released that bass playthrough, which was killer, and it seemed to get a good
Thanks.
response. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people like it. People dig it.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but a lot of people liked it. No, I'm kidding. I love
I
it.
mean, I didn't like it either.
No, he didn't
but-
like it. No, we loved it. No, I love you. No, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, doing those playthroughs is cool, and you know, it's kind of a strange thing, you know, considering we do everything in house. Like a lot of these bands, it's kind of weird. But once you get past that, you realize it's just it's the nature of the beast, and you want people to hear our music. We want people to hear our music, so you want to put your stuff out there, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too because we waited so long to do
Yeah.
those things. But you know, it is what it is. We were busy doing other things, and we were busy writing a new album, so our minds weren't on that older material.
Yeah.
But now we have a little bit of downtime while the record's being worked on and stuff. So
Yeah, and I think the more that you delve into that stuff, just like, you know, putting yourself out there, it gets a little easier, you know. Even with this, obviously this is kind of weird, you know, us sitting down and talking to each other with headphones on, but we love talking to each other about this stuff anyway, so
Yeah.
it's cool anyway. And we figured it'd be nice to clue you guys in a little bit to our headspace and kind of where our mind's at. Our goal for this podcast really is to jump in the game and just you know, talk a lot about music and art and entertainment and the things that we're interested in, and hopefully you guys are interested in too. So there's been some cool stuff floating around. There's an interesting video that we saw recently that was floating around the internet.
check something real quick.
There was a little bit of a strange video, I would say, that we were exposed to recently, and I think we're going to try to pull that up so you guys can check it out as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. I'm sure Tyler knows who this guy is.
You talking about Bonnie?
what is his name? Is it Bonnie?
It's Bonnie Brent.
This is amazing. We're gonna
Don't
play.
ask me why Ben chose this clip for the first. Thing
It just it makes me. Here's the thing. The clip makes me feel good, and it's just one of those feel good things where you know that music transcends life, and it's just something that you can't pin down with a heartbeat. So we're going to try to pull this video up for you now and play it and see if we can.
No, I mean, I can just put it in post, but yeah.
No, of course, but we have to watch it ourselves. We've only seen this maybe once, and it was kind of shocking.
I don't understand this. It's like they do this in another country somewhere where they'll put their let's say it's their mother or father. Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead.
They're dead, and they'll
They're
actually prop
dead.
them up and put them in like a chair for like a week or whatever. 2
For
weeks,
a week?
2 weeks, a month. I'm not even kidding. Look this up. I'll look it up. But it's in a
Scandinavia, right?
I have no idea.
I wouldn't. That's just my guess. Those people are horrible
it's
people.
Some other country, but this is more so disturbing to me than funny. But it's
I honestly don't know what to make of it. And as I was watching it, I had Madame Tussauds Wax Museum vibes, but I don't know why I just thought that he was gonna start, doing a Chuck E. Cheese
like
thing.
I
thought that they were gonna.
In the
Yeah, I thought he
was.
was gonna start moving his arms, and
He lived a decent life, 1952 to 2021.
What is that? That's 69.
I guess that's not that great.
Well, could be worse.
Maybe for a drummer, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good for a drummer. Honestly, I'd love for Tyler to die before we die, and then we could do this. Obviously, if we die first, then we can't.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I hope so. I love that guy. He's like a stepson to me. No, he's like
for some reason I'm not seeing my audio come up, and I hope that it's recording. 1 second. This is the first time for this, so we got to figure this out.
Yeah, we might have to clip it up a little bit just to make sure we got things rolling.
Oh yeah, well I guess it is. It's just not loud.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
You can't hear my mic?
I can't hear the video.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my mic.
No, I can hear your mic fine.
I can hear it, but it's not coming through a lot. I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure it will be okay. I turned it up a little bit, but
Body Laid Out Behind Drum Kit is the name. I guess that's the same video.
no, it's called Bonnie Brent's Last Performance.
Last performance. Wow.
Last performance. Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been to a couple of open casket funerals in my day, and those are tough. It's really hard to deal with. I don't know how I would respond to.
Well, maybe he was a playful guy. Maybe he probably had a sense of humor, I would hope. You know what I mean? What if he was like a really dead
If he
serious
didn't have a
guy?
sense of humor and did that, I would be fucking terrified. I think I would have nightmares for a long time, especially to know that he was like a really stoic guy and then
Yeah.
he was serious about this.
I'm sure it was probably split 50-50. I'm sure there was a lot of uncomfortable people in the room, and then there
You think?
was.
I don't know. If you love someone, you love them. I wonder what kind of music he played.
Jazz.
I was thinking like horrorbilly, like Unknown Hinson or something like that, maybe.
He was playing jazz. He's progressive. He's in a progressive family for this kind of stuff here, buddy.
I guess propping yourself up when you're dead is a progressive move. Progressive is a really loose definition these days.
It's prog.
That's like prog death, which that's a
It's a thing.
That's a genre.
Yeah, it's a thing.
But yeah, I don't know why. I would expect something like this more from a Scandinavian cult. What was that? What was that movie?
Oh yeah.
Midsummer. Midsummer.
I thought you were talking about
Midsummer.
the one that they're in the. Oh, what's that called? The one that
That
they're in
movie
the.
is fucking creepy. What's that one? That's the Netflix original movie, right? Where they go out and then he ends up in the attic and he's like staring at this effigy in the middle of the night. Is that the one you're talking about?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some weird ass movie where they're like, what was it, man? They're in the prison cell and they freaking cut the guy in half from the bottom.
What the fuck?
You know what I'm talking about? And they pull him apart.
Oh my
really
God,
cool.
that's Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, Bone Tomahawk. That because you said the Scandinavia thing. I don't know. I was thinking like up in the mountains. It was like some creepy ass shit.
Fucking creepy.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. It's like
I can't wait to get back into the movie theater.
Jesus.
I was gonna see if we wanted to go see I'm not good with movie titles. The Quiet Place 2, that's coming out. I really like the first one, so I might go check that out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I
Yeah,
definitely
it's
miss the
fucking-
movies too, man. That's been something that's really inspired my music. You know what I mean? I think our music for a long time. I think the way that we try to do things.
Yeah.
We try to take the cinematic approach.
I mean, speaking of, we were just talking about The Contortionist. I think they take a lot of influence from, let's say, like, Clairvoyant. I think Bladerunner, the new Bladerunner movie came out around then, and it was, I mean, when I hear that soundtrack and then I hear Eric play keys, it's very reminiscent of that same futuristic, crazy vibe that they give. So, and I'm really into that stuff, so.
Yeah, it really gives me chills just thinking about how impactful that even just the score was. You know what I mean? We were really geeked out when that movie came out.
Yeah, that's there's one called C something. What is it called? C. How much is this like even legal for us to even do?
No, we can pull this stuff up. We
Okay.
just
Seawall.
yeah.
To watch, listen to Blade Runner 2049 Seawall. That's my favorite.
And that's
one
the
off
one
the
when he's
score.
like flying across and there's this huge wall and it's just like
Yeah, it's like
oh my
really,
God, it's so cool.
really intense. And then it has some like, chill moments to that as well. But that's before the most epic fight scene at the end, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I want to say that we saw that in theaters, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that IMAX experience was crazy. But I want to say we were so geeked out from the movie and then the fact that we love The Contortionist so much, and then I want to say we went and saw them, and there was this weird light that they started the show with. It was like this spotlight, and it totally reminded us of it. It gave me chills just thinking about it.
They played an audio clip, too, that was
what it was?
Reminiscent of the interview in the original Blade Runner.
That's so cool.
When they're interviewing the what later turns out to be Harrison Ford's wife or whatever. She's like an android. But yeah, that's...
I've got to admit that I'm not really crazy about the original Blade Runner. I know that's like sort of blasphemous.
I love it. I grew up on it. It was more about they captured the vibe.
Yeah.
It's more of a it's just more of a feeling.
Yeah.
Than it is like, oh man, such a action-filled movie. Although there was a lot of action scenes, it was just very slow. It was
definitely more vibey,
and vibey, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, too, when there's something like that that's so classic and you haven't been exposed to it, you know what I mean? And then you go watch it 20 or 30 years later after it's come out. It can be hit and miss, sometimes, I think, with that stuff.
Yeah.
Although I will say that, you grew up, watching Alien movies, loving the Ridley, not the Alien movies. We'll say Alien in particular.
Yeah. But I mean, I liked, when we were kids, I could appreciate the second and third and.
Yeah,
But.
Rest in peace, Bill Paxton. I'm sure he was a hell of a guy, but that performance in what was it, Aliens, like.
I mean,
it reminded me of Wayne's World.
I think his most epic performance was Tornado, right? Or Twister.
Epic?
Like the most like
well-known,
I think. Like I definitely remember him more. Oh, well, no. And then he played in Nightcrawler, which was another really gnarly
Was he
performance.
in Nightcrawler?
Yeah, he was the one that Jake Gyllenhaal sets up to he sets him up in the car.
Man, that's one of my favorite movies, I think, Nightcrawler. It's just,
one of your favorite?
It's just so creepy and just like the vibe of everything that goes on in it. It's so dark and sinister.
It's really good.
Yeah, I love it. I forgot Paxton was in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just always remember him freaking out in Alien, like, and it reminds me of like Wayne when he's like, "I'm mine, man. I'm mine big time, man," and he's like freaking out about the aliens, which God rest his soul. I'm sure he was a hell of a guy. But yeah, I think we can all agree that Alien was definitely one of the best movies that have ever come out.
I mean, yeah, we've been like showing Tyler, our drummer, a lot of older movies that we grew up on.
Well, I think we should make a disclaimer, and I don't want to throw him under the bus, but Tyler's favorite movie is Frozen.
He says that. That's not true, though.
Well,
he says it, but I don't think it's true. I'm
maybe
just gonna
trolling
get
us
him back
at this point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get his back here and tell you that.
I want to say that the songs from that were really influential to him, is what we understand. Yeah. And nothing against the songs and the movie Frozen. To all you people out there, I love Disney. And I think it's great. It's a little strange for a grown man to have such an affinity for Frozen, but, we're not going to throw him under the bus here because he's not here to defend himself. I think we're going to have to get him on.
We can't clown him here.
No. I think we're going to have to corner him and do an intervention for an episode coming up soon.
As long as he's here, we can trash that. But we've been showing him older films, and lately we watched Alien, and I'm glad that he could have some appreciation for that.
Did he like it?
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah.
And that movie, again, I feel like very similar to what the original Blade Runner was, is like it has...
Oh, I thought you were going to say Blade.
Has a very, you know what I mean, it captures that vibe, like that's science fiction.
Yeah.
That's the science fiction vibe. Like it still inspires every science fiction film to date, So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it can be understated when you create an atmosphere with something, you know what I mean? We can sometimes get off on how amazing a movie looks or the plot's great, screenwriting and all that stuff, but I think that sort of similar to what we feel from like the Contortionist live stream and like Karnivool's live stream is that once you get into a place where you just kind of sucked into the vibe, it kind of transcends all that other stuff. You know what I mean? And I think in a good way, you kind of start to forget about the notes or even the songs really when it's just kind of just hitting you in the heart, you know what I mean? And you don't kind of parse out like each section or each song, and it just becomes this experience like you mentioned where it's more of a cinematic thing. And I think it's killer, man. I really do. And I'm hopeful that I think our intention was to keep moving in sort of that direction. And obviously we haven't released anything from this new record that we're going to be putting out, but I'm hopeful that there's a little bit of that going on there.
What do you mean?
As far as like a cinematic thing, you know what I mean? Obviously it's not. I mean,
the songs are written and recorded.
What?
I don't know what you mean. The
songs are written?
And they're recorded. Yeah.
Huh.
That happened. So,
only...
Was
I there?
You were there. I'm just saying, you said cinematic. You know what's on the album, so...
Man, I've been thinking a lot about mushrooms lately, and maybe I was just gone at the time. Not that I've been eating mushrooms. I don't eat mushrooms. I never have. But I think I might be tripping because I just don't remember recording an album.
Well, that happened. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie King.
Yeah.
That's another thing, like, we were talking about, like, the possibility of maybe having some guests at some point, maybe not here, but, like, at Jamie's place. Jamie's so cool that we think that he would do it, We're not going to, like, pressure him into doing it, but at some point we feel like that would be pretty rad. Like, maybe around the time that we're going to release our music or something, maybe we can have a little conversation and we'll sit down with them or whatever. But yeah, that's something that we discussed. So
yeah, it'd be great. Jamie's a hell of a guy, and I think we should preface it for a lot of these people probably don't know who Jamie King is or what his relationship to our music is. I know a lot of people that are steeped in recording process and things like that are aware of him, obviously because he's a heavy hitter. But
well, BT Bam and the Contortionist are his,
yeah, so
are his babies.
Yeah, if for those of you that aren't aware, Jamie King being the longtime producer of Between the Buried and Me, I think that's where he made a lot of his, bones as far as notoriety. Maybe that's not the right word, but yeah, it was definitely exciting when we were finally able to link up with him. We recorded our debut EP in 2015, and we recorded it with a guy named Saul Johnson, who was a great guy. Johnson, I can't remember, but Saul was cool.
He moved to Antarctica in the middle of when we were recording.
I think it was Alaska.
He's probably never going to watch this.
I don't think he moved to Antarctica. I think it was Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah, I don't think he lives in Antarctica, which would...
Yeah, whatever.
How badass would that be if he, hey, guys, I'm moving to Antarctica.
How badass would that be?
I think it would be badass. He'd probably die, but, we could have easily immortalized him like that drummer guy because he would have been frozen in a certain position.
Yeah, Saul was cool,
Yeah.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was a learning experience to be nice about it.
To be nice, yeah. I think to be nice to us because we were so freaking green.
Is quaint the word?
No, not at all. But yeah, it's that was a cool experience. And then I'm not sure how we linked up with Jamie. I'm not sure who reached out to him. Drew knew Saul. So that was really cool, though, when we went to that studio, the idea of going, that guy Perry.
Yeah, the old school
His
thing.
name was Perry Poodle Office Noodle. And
we actually have a picture of that on our Instagram. It was
really?
Like one of the first, I think it might be one of the first photos that we ever had on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in this old school, super huge.
It was crazy. It was his
place.
personal studio. The guy had like 1 million records, and he lived in the middle of the woods, basically. Yeah. It was like a cabin. And next to his cabin, he had this giant warehouse. And my mom introduced me to this guy randomly. Yeah, she knew his mom, and we just went up and visited. And literally, he had like the largest collection of personal records ever. It was like literally, I think it was 1 million records. I think
he said that.
It was something crazy.
My memory is pretty bad, but I remember him.
We went there, and like I said, he was in the middle of the woods, and he had this big warehouse, and it's really unassuming, and you walk in, and then all of a sudden, it's like this nightclub downstairs, baby grand piano in there. Oh, it was so killer, man.
Forgot about the nightclub he had down there. I think that he probably wouldn't have been able to afford that very much longer. Like that place was
he had
massive.
Money. He was a little creepy as far as like he liked to bring women in and he had like the pole and Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, he was a little strange. Nice, hell of a guy, nice guy, but
yeah, the studio wouldn't have worked out for us though. It was just too old school. He didn't have the gear that we
Well, he didn't have a Pro Tools
exactly.
rig.
Like it was just it wouldn't have worked.
But it would have been awesome to record, to tape, but that's just it's basically like it's not feasible for a band like us now. No. Just the money that it costs. So yeah, did Saul meet us over there? Is that what happened? I think he might have come over there, and then we realized that we were gonna have to go record it at Saul's place.
Maybe I don't remember that.
Yeah, but anyway, that's where or how we got started recording that first EP, and the reason we started talking about that was because Jamie. We reached out to him and got him to mix and master that first EP.
Just master,
that's right.
He didn't mix
it was a different guy. Jeffrey McKee was the guy that mixed the record for us.
In L.A. And
great guy.
Another learning experience. Let's not even go there.
Well, it's just one of those things that, when you don't know what the hell you're doing, like what we're doing with this podcast, you kind of just start putting one foot in front of the other. And
well, the thing is like, I got a vibe that they were like, "Oh, these kids are so green, they don't care." You know what I mean? They don't care about what they're putting out or whatever. I'm not trying to put a bad name to
I don't think it was even more. I think it was a lot of it was they had no experience with metal music, no experience with heavy music, no rock music. I remember, being really into the idea of putting like some distortion on the screams, and that was like they didn't even know where we were coming from with that. Yeah. They were steeped in like the church tradition, pop, acoustic music more.
Well, all in all,
I think it worked out. I think it worked out great, man.
A lot of people like those songs, so
yeah, And I mean, we don't like them, but they do, and I think that's all that matters. At the end of the day, when you're making art, you really it doesn't matter what you feel about your own material. It's more about, do other people like it, or do they like me? And when you get to that point where you feel like other people like you, it really doesn't matter what you feel about your own stuff. You know what I mean?
No, I don't, because I kind of like our music, but
these are jokes, people. Obviously, I'm not a very funny guy, but I just no. Anyway, it was a cool experience, but I'm glad that gave us a foot in the door to get connected with Jamie.
Yeah.
And I mean, God, we were so excited then to take that next step. Once I don't know how long it took us to write the full length Ways We Haunt, but
it took, I think it was 3 years, because we had a lot of stuff happen with the band, you know.
Yeah, there was a lot of
well, we had two different drummers, right?
Two different drummers, yeah. It's crazy.
Drew took a little break for about a year, I
yeah.
think. When I just continued to write by myself, and then we got back together, and then everything.
It's crazy
clicked.
to think how long it's been since, you know, that almost seems like a lifetime ago. Like when I think about like Tyler being in the band,
he's already been in the band for like almost.
It's basically like the whole life of the band, you know what I mean?
3.5 years.
Yeah,
right? So.
And it couldn't have worked out any better with that. It was crazy. We met Tyler through Craigslist, which
yeah. Well, he came to one of our He came to one of our shows.
Yeah,
He said he was going to buy something. He went out to the ATM, and then I don't remember him.
Yeah, he never
came
back. He said he was going to buy a piece of merch, and then
something. He'll have to clear this up later.
Yeah, we were really excited. Wow, we got a fan, and he wants something, and then he never showed back up. But it was weird then when we put the ad out on Craigslist, and he responded to us and showed up, and we knew that we had seen him before. But he was just excited. As anybody, I think, to go record with Jamie. It was just, it was crazy. And I think one thing we should mention was the fact that, one, we were so connected with that style of music, obviously, because that's the kind of music that we wanted to make. Not, you know, exactly like BT Bam. Obviously, we're a lot different than BT Bam, but they're just...
Tyler is like the biggest fanboy of
he's
BT.
a
he
huge
loves
BT Bam fan.
I've never been really a huge fan. Like I, you know, when I see them, I can get down with them live, you know. They're incredible musicians. It's just, honestly, I'm more of a simple-minded guy.
Yeah. You're a
a
simple boy.
I'm a simple boy.
You're a simple little boy.
Simple boy. But no, I mean, they're incredible. They're, everything about them is amazing. It's just, honestly, it's too much for me to take in.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's, they throw a lot at you, and you definitely, it's a very cerebral kind of thing, you know what I mean? You really have to not only be invested, but you have to be willing to go a lot of different places on a dime.
Which is really cool. And like when we see him live, it's like, damn, they play this riff that's like super killer, and then they only play it for like 10 seconds. And it's like, well, man, my mind just, or 5 seconds, like my mind just, like I said, I'm simple. So
yeah,
like those are, you know, that's why I feel like we have a balance with our band. You know, Tyler, he likes very complex, progressive things, and then, you know, we have this other side where Ben and I and Drew grew up on, maybe Jared too, but we grew up on, you know, 90s stuff.
Yeah, Jared definitely has that.
Yeah. But yeah, more rootsy kind of stuff that
which obviously those guys,
a lot more people.
You know, and not to discount their influence, which, I mean, obviously we're ignorant to their minds and where they're at, but you can tell that they love that stuff too, you know what I mean? They're really big fans of that. Yeah. They just kind of, they've kind of carved their own path. They're really like OGs in that whole game of like extreme progressiveness. They paved the way, you know. That's another one of the crazy things to me is that they laid the groundwork for bands like, you know, Animals as Leaders, Veil of My, like all these crazy bands that you see today. Like
even us, you know what I mean?
Even
like
us, but
we, like in our own way.
Like, not to put us in the category of those bands, obviously, or anything. No. In any regard, but just the fact that
influence, though. That's
and the fact that they paved the way for all that stuff is incredible. And, you know, circling back around to the fact that they're from Winston. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're from Winston, Salem, North Carolina.
Tiny little place most people don't even know exists.
Like, and not only
they were 5 minutes down the road. Their practice space was 5 minutes down the road from us. So,
and we didn't know this about Jamie, but, you know, we had him master the record, and then once we linked up and were able to book that time recording Ways We Haunt with him, his studio is literally 10 minutes away from our studio. And it's ridiculous because obviously he's the type of producer that people are traveling from all over the world to come record with this guy. And
yeah, he was just telling us about a band that came from Japan.
Yeah, that was so crazy. And, you know, the fact that we were able to just drive from our house, you know, essentially to his place every day, it really can't be understated. Obviously, we don't have experience doing anything else, but I got to imagine it's a little bit different. Say you fly from out of state and you go record with somebody. It's got to be a lot different.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot more I mean, I would be a little bit more uncomfortable, I believe. Yeah, there's definitely a sense of comfortability being able to go back to your own house at night when you get done recording all day. Like,
and I mean, he's a really accommodating guy, so I'm sure after a short time, everybody feels comfortable. But one thing you just can't get when you're coming from out of state or anything is just the shorthand that you get. You know what I mean? We went to school even closer than where we lived to his house. You know, it was like a stone's throw away, and, you know, knowing the same people and living in the same town, it's just such a great thing to just kind of have that shorthand right off the bat and be able to get to make music, you know, with another hillbilly like ourselves, you know.
And also, like I mentioned, the Contortionist as well.
Yeah, that was the thing, is that, you know, we knew that the Contortionist had recorded with them.
I think it was right around when we listened to Language, which completely changed our lives musically, I think right around that time, you know, I think we considered reaching out to Jamie, I believe. I think that was around the time that we were like,
we might have even had it in our minds already.
That, maybe.
And it just reaffirmed that.
Maybe, yeah, because obviously we knew about Jamie either way with getting him to master our EP. So, well, that's 2015. I can't remember when Language came out.
I want to say it was the same year it came out that we learned about it, right? I mean, we weren't like first to the party or anything, and it had been out for a little while. But I clearly remember the first time hearing that record, you know? And
okay, so yeah, Language came out in 2014. I don't think we heard it right away when it came out.
I want to say the summer of 2015. It might have been the summer of 2016, but I don't think it was that far after.
What I'm saying is it was released in September 2014. So I think that we heard about Jamie through that album, and that's why by that time I think we had probably already booked our time for the EP. I imagine. So it was too late to like obviously back out of that and get Jamie to record the EP, but that obviously gave us the incentive to have him master our EP.
Yeah.
Which honestly I wish we would have got him to mix it, but like I said, you know, we're grateful for what it turned out to be.
Yeah, it's one of those things, hindsight is 20/20, you know, and I mean, who knows if we would have even had the opportunity to do it. It was so quick how we did that. You know what I mean? We wrote those songs, and it was just a matter of a couple of months before we just jumped in the studio. And obviously we had groundwork laid. We had been playing music together for a while, and me and you and Drew were, you know, good friends for a long time before that.
Obviously you and I, Ben and I grew up together. We've known each other since 3rd grade. But yeah, I honestly, I don't think, I mean, yeah, maybe Drew, like maybe a year. Because I mean, I used to go to you guys as like blues when you guys were playing blues and going out. And that's about the extent of that. I didn't really know Drew too well.
Well, it was when we were playing in our first band, Parasonic, you know, and then Drew started coming over here, and we were doing all those covers. And it was really organic how that came together, which I think is a testament to things working out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah,
you know
totally.
What I mean? And when you don't have to force stuff, it just works out better. Yeah. It really does.
I was gonna grab my dog and show
everyone. We've got a little bit of a pooch, but
we'll just do that later though.
Yeah, she's kind of just sniffing around right now.
I just hope she doesn't knock over the camera.
She will. But yeah, so that was cool, and you know, linking up with Jamie and just having that rapport and then making that album, God, everything's just kind of, it's really weird when you think about that stuff. I don't know about you, but like sometimes like, you know, the past and like thinking, it's almost like a dream for me, you know what I mean? Because everything just kind of seems to happen so quick, you know what I mean? And you just blink and you're here now. And I know that's like a little whatever woo woo, but it's just kind of crazy how fast time goes by. You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, you're 31 knocking on heaven's door. Maybe not that far along.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. I don't feel like we're in our 30s. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel that.
Yeah.
But we are. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've just only scratched the surface of what we will do throughout our life with music. So
yeah, I think so too, man. And that's kind of one of the crazy things too. I mean, you know, relatively speaking, we kind of started playing late.
Oh, extremely late.
You know, we were like 20 maybe 19, but definitely 20 years old when we started playing, you know?
I don't even think I was that old.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, I don't think I was that young. I think I was
I think it was around 20. I remember we were going to UNC Charlotte. You were playing a lot of Modern Warfare. And then I bought that harmonica. I started coming around bothering you guys, playing it all the time. You got the bass, and it was just like boom, 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 man. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I think it took me a little while to get consistent with it, though. At first, it was just like a hobby. You know what I mean? It was just like whatever. But then, of course, you know, the traditional story of the woman in your life that turns your world upside down, and that, you know, that influences a lot of things. So that definitely gave me a driving force to create something and give me some sort of peace or whatever that is. But I was able to finish school, and then I think I was a junior in college when I was starting to get more and more into the music thing, and then traveling a lot back and forth and doing the covers with my dad was playing drums, and Ben was playing guitar.
Those were good times. Those were really good times.
But yeah, I mean, that kind of just paved the way for everything. Just doing a bunch of cover songs down here in the basement.
Yeah.
Actually, this right here is where the drums usually are.
And this is where we've been making music for the better part of a decade now.
Yeah.
And coming up with the ideas and the inspiration that we have to continue doing it. Yeah, it was a little different for me starting out in the fact that, you know, I was like obsessed from day one. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I had to do this. You know, I would just like play all the time, all day.
Yeah.
And the difference was, I think that I just had to figure out what was the right path, so to speak, within music. You know what I mean? Or within entertainment. Like, you know, starting out playing blues and playing harmonica, which is a huge part, but it really started to click when we started shifting to music, you know, the covers that we would play, that was music that we listened to when we were kids. And I always remember that being young and just thinking that stuff was so unattainable. You know what I mean? It was like a lot of people, when they describe, you know, like punk rock was the influence for a lot of guys that we love. Like they say that punk rock was their introduction to music that seemed like something that they could do, right? Because like a lot of them would say Led Zeppelin, that you look at Led Zeppelin and you're just like, man, I could never do that. You know what I mean? Like there is no way that I could even imagine doing something like that. And I think, I don't know about you, but for me, Tool was like that for me. You know what I mean? I love Tool's music. And
I tried to get you into Tool for a long time.
Yeah, it was a slow process. I liked a couple of songs, but
I was, you know, I was grown up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom got me into Tool. Oddly enough.
And I was more of a hip hop head then. You know what I mean? I loved rock. I mean, I was a nu metal nerd. You know what I mean? There was something about all those bands, you know, and I'm not ashamed to say I listened to the shit out of Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Stained, Korn, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there was something about the percussive, lyrical nature of that, combined with the heaviness, that, you know, it spoke to a lot of younger kids.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think we talked about this too when Chester passed away. Like, it was just like crazy because, I mean, he was the first one that we ever heard actually like scream on an album. You know what I mean?
With an incredible singing voice too.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Well, I mean, there was a few. There was Stained. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same at all.
It wasn't like pure aggression. You know what I mean? And
it was a little more somber.
And it resonated, I think, more with us because it was more of a youthful kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I just never, when I would listen to that stuff as a kid, I never thought, man, this is something I could do. You know what I mean? It was just like, I love this so much. It speaks to me, but it's so, to be an artist, you know what I mean? To get on stage, it just seems something that's like so daunting. And that's why I think it's just a really beautiful thing when you see an artist that speaks to you, that you love, that makes you feel like you can do it. You know what I mean? I think that's not to be understated, because there are those, you know, Led Zeppelins, and for a lot of people, Tool is like that, and you know, a number of bands, but I really can't remember what was like the heaviness band that made me think that I could do that. I don't know. It just kind of happened so quick. I know that you know, when we got into Karnivool, it was really inspiring. But I mean, by any means, I wasn't like, wow, like we can do that. You know what I mean? It was just like, I have to do that. You know what I mean? I have to make music that speaks to me in that kind of way. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Inspiration is just one of those things that's so fleeting. You know, you can't predict it. You know what I mean? And you can't grab a hold of it. You know what I mean? But once it's there, I think one of the things that artists are able to do is recognize that and run with it, you know what I mean, and not be, you know, as self-conscious as I know that all of us can be. I know that I am.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking of our own music, I remember, you know, earlier on, with those earlier demos, like before we came out, this, you know what I mean, is like, you were coming into your own as a singer, and it was like, okay, well, you got to stop doing this and that, and stop sounding like this and that.
And stop, like, crawling into the fetal position and staying there for 20 minutes while I go through the set.
But, yeah, you know, and it just, you know, we write our own material, and, it, you know, it all worked out. It came out naturally, so.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I remember, like, vividly, we were playing some covers, and I don't know which ones we were playing initially. I know there was a couple Silverchair songs,
few Tool songs.
But that was what I was going to say was that was a big shift, because I remember
Deftones songs.
I remember feeling, like I said, for a long time that like Tool is just unattainable, right? Like you can't do this music. I don't know what it is. And obviously as you get farther along, you realize that, well, it's maybe not as complicated as your mind thought it was.
Well,
in its own right, it is.
Other than what Danny Carey does.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
He's like an alien. But, you know, that band is insane.
Yeah, and I mean, but I just remember sitting down and learning Lateralis, you know, and yeah. I remember...
We had a tough time with that one.
Of course. I mean, we had a tough time with all of them, but I just remember how excited I was, man. Like, I remember spending, I don't know how long it took, but just playing that shit over and over. And I remember having this, like, wry smile in my mind. I never told you this probably, but... Like, I learned the hell out of that song and got it, you know, passable to where you knew what it was. And I remember just being so stoked to come over here because I think it was kind of understood that, like, I don't know, we can't play Tool. You know what I mean? But I remember coming over here.
I mean, we could play, like, Sober.
No, that wasn't. The first one was Lateralis.
Yeah, which was a little stretch.
Yeah,
but, like,
so
the
I
other
remember,
songs, we were able to actually, like, play those. You know?
But what I was saying was I remember coming over here and being so stoked to be like, hey, man, like, I've learned this song. And you... had loved Tool for such a long time, and I was just, you know, I figured, you know, he's gonna be stoked on this, and obviously you were, and it was awesome. It was really rough playing through that shit and trying to sing and play.
Yeah.
I sat down last night and I was trying to like jam like even just a section of Lateralis and sing and play it, and I was just like, what the?
Oh yeah, Lateralis just turned 20.
I didn't even think about that. I actually blew up my my audio interface last night by trying to listen to Lateralis. So that was cool. Yeah. You know, it cost me $110 to listen to Lateralis last night, which was, man, that was awesome.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Use your fucking stimulus money.
No, I gave mine back because I'm just that kind of guy. But, yeah, it was really crazy to sit down last night and try to play that and sing that. And obviously, it's been a long time since I've, like, tried to play guitar and sing. I haven't done that a lot, you know, over the past couple years. It's something that I've been kind of jiving with lately, not necessarily for the band, but I just love playing guitar, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so it was cool to sit down last night and just kind of mess around with that stuff again and kind of get that old bug back. And it just, I think that kind of stuff just spurs you on to other things, to do other things with your own music, you know what I mean?
Like our podcast.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe not the whole, you know, playing Lateralis last night, but, you know, what we've been doing for a long time. I mean, we like talking about music. We like talking about entertainment, so. Yeah,
and I think that was like we said at the beginning, that was kind of the goal of this, is that we just wanted to kind of jump in the game and start, you know, sharing a bit about our headspace and, like, where we're at when we're making music, and not even just get on here to talk about ourselves. That's not the point. Is I think more so it's to share the excitement that we have for music because, you know, first and foremost, we're just crazy fans. You know what I mean? And we still sit down and just love listening to music. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think that's a big part of what we do with our own band. You know what I mean? Just that we're fans first, and we really revere these people. And it's not that, you know, I think as we get older and the more we play, we realize, you know, these people aren't superhuman. You know what I mean? They're people, but you feel that connection. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're trying to do with our own music. And, you know, I hope people feel the same way, you know, if they do connect with it. But I think it's cool to just share that excitement, you know what I mean, and not be too fucking cool, you know what I mean, like whatever, like it's all whatever. I always felt like that, you know what I mean. I never want to act like too cool to share my childish excitement for this kind of stuff, you know what I mean, because it's.
I mean, once you lose that, I think you might as well just get out of the game.
Yeah, and you see that sometimes, even like talented guys, you know what I mean. It's
at that point, you know, you're saying talented, so. Probably well-known musician, so by that time they built a career around it, so it's like that's how they make their money.
But it's kind of a fucking bummer, right? Like,
I mean, I don't usually listen to that kind of stuff. Whatever you're talking about, if I've, you know, it's funny because even if you don't dig them, like if you find out somebody's like an asshole or something, you know,
it's a similar thing.
It changes your perception of even their music.
Yeah,
you know, so it all trickles down, but.
Yeah, I think that ties into sometimes with being afraid to put yourself out there, which I know, man. Like, I feel that. You know what I mean? I feel self-conscious about putting myself out there because sometimes it's like when you lift the veil, it's like, oh, no, they're going to find out that, like, I'm not a cool guy or, like, I don't have the goods, you know what I mean, or whatever. But
it's funny you circle back around to that because I said I was going to say, like, I think it would be cool to talk about, since we were talking about, you know, you just kind of, the music, like in your like, for instance, when we were going to school and we were playing music, it's like then the music takes you away from these other things in life that seem like they're so important, and then, you know, later down the road you're like, man, I mean, I don't have much more than just the music right now. It's like that freaks me out, you know, that like you know, all you have is music and you can't, you know, support yourself the right way, and you can't, you know,
and I mean, it's kind of a crazy life path, you know what I mean? And
that's what I mean. It's just, I feel like, you know, a lot of musicians, I feel like they have to struggle with that. You know, they have to struggle with the mind state of feeling like a fucking loser because, you know, you care so much about, or not even a musician. You could be anything in art, you know, you could be a painter or a movie scripter or whatever the hell,
director, like
whatever, like whatever you're into. It's just you're abandoning so many other things in your life that most people, you know, follow that path and live a more comfortable life or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think a lot of musicians, a lot of people in art just struggle with that kind of stuff. And
yeah. And I mean, it makes sense because it's not really rational. You know what I mean? To do this, it's if you think about it on paper, it's like, dude, this isn't smart. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a winning game a lot of the time, but I think, you know, you can agree it's not a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not something that you're just like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. It's like, I have to do this. And I remember just thinking that so explicitly when I was, you know, 20 years old. And one of the things that really trips me out is that I still feel like that, you know what I mean? And like, I'll just have, it's almost every day, you know, that, but not every day, but most days even, that I'm just like, it trips me out, man, that I'm just still like so fucking excited about music, you know what I mean? And I'm just a fiend for it, you know what I mean? New music, our music, whatever it is, it's so exciting to me. It's like, you know, we were geeking out on the new JCole record yesterday, and obviously, you know, we don't listen to a plethora of hip-hop these days, I think.
Not these days, no.
No, and, you know, you come in and out of different genres that you're affected by, you know what I mean? But, you know...
You recognize true artists, though.
Yeah, and it's just something that's
just like
so...
Common or Kendrick Lamar.
But it's so special when somebody puts something out and you just... It's not contrived on your end, like, what you think about it or how you like it. It's just... You just respond to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, dude, I don't know. It's just a beautiful thing, man. And I like I said, I've been geeking out on that record. It came out yesterday. I've already spun it like 4 times.
Yeah, probably same.
Something like that.
At the gym, just listen to it nonstop.
And it is cool that, dudes from North Carolina, which it's always a cool thing that somebody's
right.
Fayetteville, yeah, that somebody's from close to you, and they're one of the biggest artists in the world. Now I know there's a lot of cool guys out there and fucking metal purists and all that shit. They're like, fucking hip hop, whatever. Like, who cares?
But like I said, I mean, artists recognize true artists.
Yeah, artists are artists. You know what I mean? And it's like,
it's okay if you don't like it.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I'm not hating on people that don't like it. I think to each his own. I just think to limit yourself, based on a preconception of a genre or something, and not to say that if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. You know what I mean? But to have that kind of going in. I remember, being into metal, it's kind of a weird thing, especially because metal's so stratified now. There's so many different subgenres. There's a lot of purists. There's a lot of old school cats. There's a lot of like metalcore cats in particular. But one of the things that was always kind of funny to me was when I would meet somebody who was just so dialed into one genre, you know what I mean? Especially when it's kind of a shallow genre, you know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, there's so much excitement outside of that, and you're limiting yourself from things that are going to excite you, you know what I mean? Just by listening to one kind of music, which, like I said, I'm not hating on that. If you like what you like, you know what I mean? And it is what it is, but I think you do yourself a disservice by closing yourself off from different things that you can hear.
Absolutely.
And it's been a cool month for music.
But I will say, there's a lot of metal guys, especially progressive metal stuff that listen to everything.
I'm not saying that that's a common thread amongst metal.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying when you meet somebody like that, I feel like sometimes there's just a really shallow pool of inspiration that they're pulling from, and
I feel like more so with metal and prog, there's more people that listen to different types of music than, let's say, somebody who listens to not just somebody who listens to pop music.
Yeah, we were talking about that recently. It was that Tosin Abasi interview, right? And he was talking about the I think it was Rick Beato interview. He was talking about the open-mindedness of, say, progressive metal fans.
Which, who knows if that's
but
fully
you kind of have to be, right? Because as a progressive metal fan, which stems from jazz and metal, is that those types of music draw from different genres. So it's kind of hard to listen to that kind of music and not have an open mind, because even where they go with their chord progressions, with the stuff they're playing, it's almost like by default you have to be exposed to different kinds of music in order to make that stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool, and obviously it's been a really cool month. We've got the new Gojira record that came out, which is slamming hard, and everybody loves it. And
it's great. It's great.
It's inspiring to see music that's successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, obviously there's a certain kind of music that really resonates with a lot of people now.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah, Billie Eilish or pop or anything like that. But
JCole.
Yeah, and even with her, like, that was something that stoked us up. You know what I mean? Because it was like, this is cool. There's something to this that's different.
There's some Billie
Obviously,
stuff
we're
that
not
I like.
Spinning her shit all the time every day, but it's
I forgot that one song that she had that I was crazy about.
My something. Where she's the one where sitting in front of the moon image or whatever.
Yeah, it was like a animated video, but I love that song.
It's my something.
It was my favorite song that she's done. I guess I honestly haven't listened to the new record. I listened to a few of the singles.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And I like, I think talking about Billie Eilish, I think it's cool what she brings to pop music. Obviously, I think that's why a lot of people respond to her, is because she brings a quote unquote darkness kind of, to a really watered down genre for a very long time.
It might be crazy out of left field, but something that always struck me with her in particular, right, is it reminded me of...
Sorry, it's Billie Eilish, My Future.
That's what it was.
That's probably my favorite song that I've heard from her, which it released 9 months ago, and it has 90 million views.
It's insane.
I mean, this girl is... I think she's 19 years old.
Something crazy.
I think she's 19. That's just incredible.
What I was going to say was I always felt like her kind of style, it really reminded me of what resonated with me about grunge music. And for some reason, grunge has like a dirty connotation to it for a lot of people now, which I don't understand. I love grunge. I love that era. It's not as tacky to people as like the new metal tag, but hell, even the guys in that genre, I remember, people like Lane and people like Chris didn't like being associated with that. I think because, when something gets popularized, it kind of gets bastardized to a point. But what I always loved about that was it was kind of like a backlash to like glam rock, you know what I mean? And like glitter and like coiffed hair and like all that stuff that really reminds me of a lot of pop music today. And when I see this chick, she's a beautiful girl, she's a young girl, whatever, but she's wearing like baggy clothes. Like you said, she's got that dark image, and I really think it's cool.
She just did like a photo shoot for Vogue, though. Just saying. Like, she put herself out there for the first time without wearing baggy clothes, which a lot of people responded to, obviously.
You did.
I mean, I don't. It's whatever. I'm just saying. You're
like,
saying that she's wearing baggy clothes. I just saw that she did that Vogue.
Like, how many times have you looked at those photos?
Once. I saw it one time.
Yeah, right.
I mean.
But yeah, no, it's cool because I like the fact that Missy Elliott had a kind of a similar thing back in the day. Not the style of music. It's just she didn't like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like sexualizing your music. I think it's great. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't need, if I want to sexualize the stuff, that's empowering, but
Nicki Minaj.
But you don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, Megan Thee Stallion. But yeah, that's what I always loved about grunge, and that's what resonated with me, being a kind of a dark-minded kid, and I wouldn't say a depressed kid, but sort of had those tendencies, you know what I mean? And to see bands that were just like, this is me, you know what I mean? And I'm going to wear baggy clothes and dirty shit, and I don't care about looking pretty for people. And that's just something that always resonated with me. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. I still, a lot of music resonates with me on the other end, but that's something that's just special to me. Is it's all about the art, you know what I mean? And I think guys like Cornell and Soundgarden, guys like Lane, Alice in Chains, and obviously Nirvana, all that stuff it was about the emotion, you know what I mean? It was about the feeling, and it was about the vibe of the music, and it wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. And I think we talked about that a lot when we started this band, was like, that's what we want to, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's not about this guy, it's about the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, mm-hmm. And that's something that's just really cool to me.
I mean, that's the greatest music ever, though. That's what or I should say band, that's the best music from bands,
Yeah.
Those are those bands, like you said, like, Led Zeppelin, for instance.
Yeah. Well, they kind of straddled that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they were all incredible.
Yeah.
It's hard to put a lasso on those guys. But
and they had that flamboyant tendency, but yeah, it was they were one of those special bands, but
they wrote amazing songs. That's what I mean. Like,
that was the
key.
Knew how, that was like the core.
Yeah, they knew how to write an amazing song.
Yeah, like, and they obviously,
regardless of the outliers and them writing an insane solo or whatever.
Yeah, that reminds me of I told you I wanted to go back and rewatch Sound City, which I did last night, and it was just like, God, man, it just gave me chills. And I've never been a huge Foo Fighters guy, never really have, but there's something about the way Dave Grohl makes documentaries and talks about music that really resonates with me, and that it's crazy that documentary's almost come out 10 years ago at this point.
He's a master collaborator.
Yeah.
Just like Josh Homme, that's why they got together did that thing.
And that song that they did, it was really cool. It was called Mantra. Him, Trent Reznor, Josh Homme, and Dave Grohl did for that. But I remember my old drummer Bob told me about that documentary, and he was like, man, it's like one of the coolest documentaries I've ever seen. And obviously, for anybody that hasn't checked out this documentary, Sound City, it is, for my money, it's one of, if not the best music documentary that's ever come out. And just a little bit of history about Sound City was that it was one of the most influential studios in the music that in particular shaped, 80s and 90s babies like us. You know what I mean? Like, it started out with Buckingham Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, and that's where Tom Petty and them did their first recordings and stuff, and Neil Young. a little bit later in the 80s, you know, Dio and, you know, Rat, just so many bands recorded there, right? But then you got to this point where it was kind of, the studio was dying, and that's where Dave Grohl comes in. And in 1991, I'm not sure, but I think 1991 was when they recorded Nevermind. And it gives me chills every time going back and watching that, man. It's like Dave really sets the scene, you know what I mean, and kind of takes you in and talks about getting in a van, and it's just so romanticized in the best way, you know what I mean, of them jumping in the van, going down to Sound City, and they single-handedly revitalized that. And it gives me chills now just thinking about it, dude. Like, they recorded Nevermind there, which just changed the fucking world, you know what I mean? It was just such an important record. And then, you know, from there you get Caius, you get Queens of the Stone Age, you get Undertow was recorded there, you get Rage Against the Machine's debut album, which was so fucking awesome to hear again, that they basically got half the Rage Against the Machine debut album recorded in like one night. They brought their friends in the studio.
Yeah, it was like a candlelit kind of
It was so cool. I thought they did the whole record that night, but apparently it was half, which is insane to think that they tracked it live. They had their friends in the room, and there's footage from that. Brad Wilk does interviews in that, but God, I mean, Rage Against the Machine, it's just another one of those bands that just changed the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was really stoked for that tour they were going to do, and then it got canceled, obviously. I mean, a lot of people's amazing shows got canceled from COVID. So
I had like front row tickets to see that. And
I think we both did, right?
No,
just you.
Yeah, it was like a general admission thing, similar to that Tool show that we went to, which was crazy that it was a general admission show in a stadium.
Standing room.
We sat there in the parking lot all day watching It's Always Sunny on the phone, and went and stood in line, and we lucked out because as soon as we got up to the doors, they pointed at us and they said, "You guys go to the other door." So we were first in the other door.
We were like some of the first people in there, it seemed.
That's what I'm saying, is because we had to split the line, and they let us go to the other entrance. And I remember having to pee so bad. I think we grabbed a beer or two at the beginning of the show and went, and, you know, Primus was playing that night. But, man, that was crazy. That was definitely one of the best shows I've ever been to. That was life-changing. Yeah,
speaking of when I was saying Josh Homme and Dave Grohl working together, that was Queens of the Stone Age, and they did that Songs for the Deaf.
I thought it was R for Restricted.
No, it's Songs for the Deaf.
Is that their first record?
Their first record was Rated R, and then their second record was Songs for the Deaf.
So Grohl didn't play on Rated R?
I don't think so. I'm not. No, I don't think so. And then I personally think that was their best record earlier on, and then they came out with Like Clockwork, which personally I think that's my favorite album from Queens of the Stone Age.
Record.
It just was such a massive difference from all the other stuff they had done before, which was really refreshing, because I feel like that same sound that they were doing for years got a little old to me, but a lot of people love their earlier stuff more than anything else. But Like Clockwork was incredible. And then I think Grohl came back for their latest album, and he played like a few songs on Villains, I believe.
Yeah. Man, Homme's just one of those cats too that, like, he's just so fucking cool. There's just something about that guy that's just so authentic and genuine. I want to say it was Sky. What was that Rancho de la Luna?
Yeah.
They had a documentary about that, I want to say, too. Man, that was a cool documentary, too. But that's that studio in the desert where they're from.
Might be wrong about Villains. I think he played on some of their songs or something at some point with Grohl came in and played one or two songs on another album. I can't remember which one it was, but he recorded all of Songs for the Deaf, which, like I said, I think that was probably their best early record that they came out with, in my personal opinion.
And they recorded, I believe they recorded Songs for the Deaf at Sound City as well. I might be mistaken. But yeah, like I said, that's such an awesome documentary, and I definitely recommend for anybody that has, you know, interest and is into that kind of music and the stuff that really shaped a lot of the stuff from the 90s, that they need to go check that thing out. You know, obviously I'm a music history buff, and I just feel like Brad Wilk said it best in that is he was around 21 when he got the idea that, you're into artists, well, figure out who turned them on. And then you figure out who turned them on. And you start going back, and it just gets realer and realer. And it's such a beautiful thing, man. I've always just had an affinity for that, just finding out who the artists I liked, and then who the artists they liked. And it's like...
You'll definitely run into a thing where you're like, I don't like this music.
Yeah. But there's something...
But that gives you an appreciation.
Yeah, and I think everybody's different, you know what I mean? But I think if you have an open mind, you can really be surprised when you go back. And especially when you're so tapped into a certain artist and you kind of put them up on a pedestal, for better or worse, as being these like superhuman people. But you start to realize the more you see like stuff that influence them is that, everybody's drawing from stuff that turns them on. I mean, nobody's coming out of a void and not listening to what's around them. Yeah. Aside from, maybe Zeppelin. I remember Page said in an interview that they didn't listen to anything that was going on around them. They were in their own. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I think I'd give them the benefit of the doubt that that's a possibility because they were so crazy good. But even those guys, I mean, as a fan of blues, I can tell you, those guys were listening to the shit out of some blues, and they loved it, and it really helped shape what they were doing and who they are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that stuff can't be understated. But yeah, man, there's something really great about finding something that inspires you. And for me, not even just music, but it's like, that's one of the coolest things in life, when you can find something that just really turns you on and makes you excited to be alive. Because especially nowadays, I think there's a lot of stuff that brings people down, like just bullshit going on, and sometimes it can be tough to be excited about life. And I think that's one of the reasons that we make music. I know that's one of the reasons I make music, is it gets me excited, to get out of bed and to go check something out, and to it gives me oxygen, it gives me that lifeblood. So yeah, anyway, this has been cool, man.
Yeah. And first time.
Yeah, it was
I mean, go figure, it's natural talking to my best friend that I've known for all my life.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from this. I thought it would definitely be a little weird putting headphones on.
I mean, they might not like it out there, but whatever. If you do, then
yeah, like I said, the idea is we want to kind of bring people into our circle, and we don't want to,
we've been pretty secretive about,
yeah, we've kind of,
and I think naturally we're always going to be kind of that way, but obviously this is a whole new realm for us. Like, we're not very, I wouldn't say we're not outgoing, but we're not putting ourselves out there.
Yeah, sometimes it's just hard to put yourself out there. But one of the things I think we saw, like, going on the road, man, was just like, we met some really cool people. And I think that you realize that that's, you don't necessarily make your music for other people. That's not the right way to put it. But when it comes,
seems like that though. After a while, after you're disconnected from it, or not disconnected, but like after you've put it out there and you're playing it, it becomes a different thing. It's a different.
Yeah, it's you realize that if you're not sharing your music with other people, why are you doing it?
And I always remember what Drew says. Our guitarist, he it's like he always reminds us that we're, he wants to help people. You know what I mean? And that's always resonated with me. Like, our music, it helps people.
Yeah.
A lot of people, obviously, music in general helps people. But like, that's such a inspiring thing. You know what I mean? Like, for someone to say that it helps them in any way, it's like, wow, that's really powerful.
That's been the most gratifying thing that I've gotten from this band, and it's one of the things that, especially when I'm in my darker moments, which I'll be real, man, I've been in a really dark place lately, you know what I mean? And I come in and out of those. I think we all do at times, but it's so encouraging to feel connected to people, and I think that that's what we're all really looking for when we make art, is that we're looking to share who we are, and we're looking to connect with people. And I think that the more we're honest with each other and the people around us, and we, kind of let that guard and that veil down, I think it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my life. So I definitely appreciate everybody that, does like our music, and any of it resonates. When you guys reach out to us and you tell us it means something to you, it really means everything to us. So we can't say thanks enough, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we really appreciate anybody that took the time to tune into this. We hope you guys dig it. And we really want to start creating more of a community with this kind of thing. We want your guys' input. You know, we want to know what you guys think. You know, any of the stuff that we're talking about, we're interested to hear your thoughts. You know, we'd love to kind of use that as a catalyst to keep going forward with this. So we're going to try to brainstorm and figure out new ways to get people involved with this and how to connect, whether it be, you know, Zooming maybe with somebody or whatever we're talking about. But, you know, God willing and with you guys' help, man, we're going to try to keep this thing going. And so we appreciate you guys taking the time, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to go eat some dinner.
Right on. Peace.